Welcome back. I'm Lance Robinson. This is Lewis Feilds. We're former pro rodeo cowboys. We live in this area of Spanish Fork. We want to introduce you to our first event today, which is bareback riding. Lewis Feilds, the former world's champion, will explain to us a little about what goes on there.
Well, in the bareback riding, you hang on to what's similar to a suitcase handle. Your hand fits in it really tight. It's cinched onto the horse's back, and it's a very grueling event. It's hard on your body, but it's also a lot of fun.
But there's a lot more on the end of it in this handle than there is a suitcase.
A little bit more. It's a large suitcase.
Let's go to our first bareback rider, Will Lowe from Canyon, Texas, and he's riding Panther Martin.
Well, here comes Will, and as you'll see when the horse leaves the chute, Will's feet will have to be over the front of the horse's shoulders to get a score. That's one of the rules. And you see this horse leave there, you'll see his spurs up over the front of the horse's shoulders. See, Will's feet are beating the horse to the ground, what they're scored on. That horse didn't continue to make a circle there, and he'll be deducted a little bit for that.
He does look like a pretty good horse, though. He's getting a lot of air there and kicks out, at least at the first of the ride, he kicks out well with his hind legs.
Will rode really well, but that horse didn't finish as good as you would like to. Where he went to the right down the fence there, it would have been a lot better if that horse would have went to the left.
Let's go to Caitlin. She might be able to give us a little insight here.
Will, can you tell us a little bit about that ride?
White horse of Sankey's 133, Panther Martin. Turned out of there, came right down in front of the bucking chutes. One that lets you show off and have fun. Felt like he was getting some air and kicking pretty good, and just let me sit up there and try to do my business.
So did you feel like you had a good position on the horse?
Yeah, he felt really good. He turned out of there and just come right to me and jumped straight in there, and it was a lot of fun.
Why? What did you do specifically that got you such a good score?
Oh, just the basics, and then you just keep adding a little more and more. But, I felt like I marked the horse out good, and then just go to clicking them off your handle and setting them back in the neck pretty hard.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let's go to our next bareback rider, Brian Bain from Culver, Oregon, and he's riding Open Range.
Brian's a younger guy that's coming up in the standings. Seems like he does a little better each year. He made it to the National Finals Rodeo last year. This year isn't going quite so well for him, but he's a hunting guide on the side, and he's a guy that is going to be a lot of fun to watch here. Here he is getting ready to ride. He's got him spurred out real well, and he's starting a good ride there. The horse is bucking pretty good. Kind of covering a little bit of ground now and quitting kicking there, so I wouldn't expect as high a ride for Brian. I would think maybe in the high 70s, maybe even 80 points. But
the horse doesn't seem to be trying as much as he'd like him to. These cowboys, they like to have as much under him as they can get. The highest score depends on the horse that bucks the most and the cowboy that spurs the best, right?
It is, and here he got an 84, so I guess that proved me wrong. Brian rode real well. His fundamentals were really good. Like I said, the horse got moving on a little bit there and probably stopped him from having a harder score. Here we go with Seth Hardwick. He's a young guy, maybe going to make it to his first national finals this year.
He's riding a horse called Daisy. That doesn't seem to be a very appropriate name for a rank horse.
I remember watching Daisy. I think she's a little buckskin horse. I think this horse bucks really nice, really a good horse. Starting real good, kicking real well. Seth's keeping up pretty well there. That's
seems to be a lot of movement from side to side on that horse.
Yeah, the horse kept changing up a little bit there, meaning he jumped to the right, back to the left, and back to the right a little. And that, if a cowboy's to keep up with that, it means they're going to get a little higher score. See, the shifting.
In this event, if a horse even makes a movement at all, you have a little bit of your bottom and your hand in a rig, and it takes great balance to stay in the middle of these horses even when they're going straight. It takes a lot of balance if the horse is trotting across the road to ride that same way.
Seth looking to see what he scores there, and he's got an 85, so that was a pretty good ride. I think 85's winning the rodeo right now.
Let's go to Caitlin again and see what she has to tell us.
Seth, can you tell us a little bit about the ride you just had?
I don't know, it's just a really fun horse to draw. I seen a buddy get on it a little while ago, and he's just a fun horse to get on.
Yeah, the horse was Daisy. It looked like you had a great rhythm going. I mean, did you feel like you had a good position, or?
Yeah, I think so. Everything went good. I made 8, so that's always good.
What's it like coming here to the Spanish Fork Rodeo? What do you think about it?
I love it. This rodeo is good every year. There's always a big crowd. They treat us good. We get hospitality, and there's always waters around. And it's a really fun rodeo to come to.
Okay, next up is Kaycee Coletti from Pueblo, Colorado. He drew a horse tonight named Sodbuster.
Casey's a newer guy. He's pretty young. He's been doing really well here. He made it to the national finals last year, I believe, for his first time. I remember he won the Cheyenne Frontier Days rodeo last year. And that's one of the biggest rodeos, is a great accomplishment. Here goes Seth. His horse is stalling in the chute, is what that's called. That's meaning the horse stalls. He doesn't want to leave. He's a little camera shy.
This young man does a lot of modeling when he's not riding bucking horses.
Here he goes. Well, hopefully the horse will cooperate, and we'll leave the chute this time and let Kaycee show his stuff. Watch his feet over the points of the shoulders, like right there. It was a good example. And everything's going real well. The horse is bucking well, and Kaycee's keeping up. Really a fast horse. Kind of got to moving on there, but a pretty good ride.
Kaycee looked like he had pretty fast feet on that ride, didn't he, Lou?
He really did, and that horse was enabled him to do that. If he wouldn't have had fast feet, he wouldn't have kept up, and he'd have probably lit on his head.
Takes a lot of strength and control to be able to beat that horse to the ground with your feet like that.
Takes years of practicing and working out, being a good athlete to be able to ride that way.
Next up is Tilden Hooper from Carthage, Texas, and he's riding a horse called Panther Martin.
Tilden travels with my son Kaycee part of the time. He's from East Texas down there, and he's been to the national finals a couple times. He's doing pretty good there. The horse is making a circle. That's the same horse that Will Lowe had the other day. And I think you're going to see a pretty good score here for Tilden. He had a little trouble getting going there, so he just kind of going along there, not really getting a hold real good with his right foot. His upper body is getting jerked quite a bit, and the horse kind of went down on his belly there, and Tilden kind of had to wait for him a little bit to get up to finish that ride. We get a 85, so Tilden goes to the lead. I think that was a lot, maybe quite a bit more the horse than it was Tilden. The horse is scored from 1 to 50, and the Cowboy as well, 1 to 50. So I would probably say that horse got a little bit more of the points there than the rider.
Let's go down to Caitlin and see what Tilden had to say about his ride.
This is Tilden Hooper. Tilden, can you tell me a little bit about the ride you just had?
That was a horse I've been on several times, a horse called Panther Martin, and I've had pretty good luck on him before. He had a really good day today, way better than normal, and it's 85 points. It was kind of a fight the whole time. We were trading licks back and forth, but it all added up at the end, and it was really exciting.
Great. So did you feel like he kind of fit your riding style then?
Yeah, I like to try to make my riding style fit every one of them, but he dang sure he bucked, and he come around there and stayed close, and like I said, I was able to stay with him, and it felt good. It felt real good.
You travel with Kaycee Feilds, right? What's that like, you and him traveling together?
It's awesome. I've traveled with him and Jess Davis since 2008, and so spend a lot of time here in Utah County, here in Spanish Fork, and it's awesome. I love it here. You know, it's like a second home for me, and it's awesome to get to come out here in front of this great crowd and do good like that.
Do you guys have a good, healthy rivalry? Do you guys kind of push each other a little bit?
I'd say so. Me and Kaycee's had a good, healthy rivalry since the first day we met. We were rookies the same year, and we've been going head-to-head ever since. So when you travel with guys that ride better than anybody else in the world, and you got to beat them when you get to the rodeo, and so you ain't really worried about anybody else, you know.
I'd find me a new traveling partner. Somebody a little easier to beat. Our next contestant is Kaycee Feilds from Payson, Utah. Really from Spanish Fork. His mailing address is Payson. But Spanish Fork wants to claim him as their own. Okay, let's learn a little bit more about Kaycee. We have a short story on him.
I was born into the coolest rodeo family there is. My dad's a 5-time world champion cowboy. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. There's nobody else going down the road that has a dad that's a 5-time world champion and has a relationship like we do. It's awesome. He didn't start pro rodeo until he was 24, and he was done when he was 32. And he won 5 world championships in pretty much every big rodeo across the country and Canada. I remember Clint Corey, Bobby Moat, and Jason Havens come by the house, and they had their riggings out and stuff, and we messed around with it. Had a great opportunity to get lots of knowledge from these guys about bareback riding and rodeo, and they taught me at an early age that you need to get away from it for a little while and go refresh your mind and go and have some fun. And I went up to Calgary Stampede to the novice bareback riding, and it was two long rounds and a short round, the finals. And I remember sitting in the camper by myself, and I was just like, you know, what are you doing? Are you really going to be a bareback rider? All the world champions are here watching the bareback riding. Are you going to be a pansy about it and them guys just kind of overlook you and forget about you? Or are you going to kind of set a statement and make a name for yourself at a young age? My first horse was getting 4 feet in the air and kicking and bucking, and it was muddy and kind of snowing, sleeting a little bit, and it was cold, and I remember it was one of my best rides. I've seen everything that went on the whole ride. Before that, it was like I nodded my head, and it was 6 seconds, and I was behind and getting yanked on and didn't know what was going on. And I nodded my head and marked him out, and I remember jump for jump spurring that horse, and it felt awesome. And after that, I got off, rode my second one the second time it happened, and the third time it happened, and I won all 3 rounds in the average. And I was like, oh, it's on. You know, I'm going to take rodeo by storm. I have in mind, when I'm there, I'm the best. Nobody's going to beat me tonight. I'm going to spur harder. I'm going to get more spur stroke. I'm going to have more upper body control than anybody. I hold my free arm perfect. I keep my chin down. This horse goes left or right, I'm going to go left or right. He ain't going to get away from me. And I don't mean that in a cocky way at all. I don't think I'm the best. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. In no means, but on the back of the bucking chutes I am. This horse cannot get me bucked off. He's not going to make me stub my toes or anything like that. I want to be number 1 until the day I retire.
What a great story and what a great young man. Kaycee's also one of the most humble people in the world here. Kaycee rides, one of the, at least in my opinion, I think he rides rank horses better than anybody ever has in the rodeo business besides his own father. And Louie and I have talked a lot about this in the past, but you know, one of the things Kaycee does, I think, better than anybody else is he has so much control when he rides. And that's one of the things you used to have when you rode. You never seemed to get out of whack on a horse.
Well, I think the fundamentals of riding are really important, and that's what's enabled myself and Kaycee to have success. So if your fundamentals are right, then good things can happen. Let's go down to Caitlin now, and she's going to talk to Kaycee and see what's going through his mind before he makes this ride.
Kaycee, last year you were world champion. How have you been riding this year? How are you feeling about this year?
I've been to 35 rodeos probably, and I've just been picking and choosing, staying home as much as possible. And when I get to the rodeos, I'm healthy and strong and fast. And if I start going to, say, if I've been to 60 rodeos like I have been in the past, kind of get a little sluggish when I get here. But this year's been probably one of my best years ever, so really looking forward to Vegas.
So you'd say that you're riding better this year than you were last year?
Probably. I have a little more experiences on the real strong horses and riding a little better than I have and in more control, and it seems like everything's slowing down a lot for me and I can see what's going on.
So your dad was world champion in the 80s, right?
Yeah, he was a 5-time world champion in the late 80s and retired in 91, I believe. And he's my hero. I look up to him in the arena and outside the arena. He's a great person, and then watching his tapes and everything like that is just pretty neat to watch how his riding style and my riding style. It's pretty comparable, and it's fun to go home and look at my videos and kind of talk over with him. I'm pretty lucky to have the dad and the family that I do.
Thank you so much. Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Next up is Kaycee Feilds from Spanish Fork, Payson, Utah. Here we go.
There's Kaycee riding really good there. The horse is moving on a little bit, but it's not quite the horse he'd had hoped to have, but I think he's going to score quite well on this. Here he goes, got him spurred out, getting started good there, beating him to the ground. His upper body shape is just what it ought to be.
I think Kaycee was hoping for a little more horse, wasn't he here? Something that bucked a little stronger for him?
Well, he probably was a little bit, but I think, you know, he rode well, and he's going to get some pretty good money out of Spanish Fork with that ride. His buddy Tilden there, he probably going to win a little bit more, had a little stronger horse, but Kaycee gets an 83 today, so, you know, that's going to win 4th or 5th place, so, you know, you can't win first every time, but that's a good ride.
Next up is Steve Peebles from Redmond, Oregon. He has a horse, I guess, do you know much about this horse, Lou?
Outcast. He's a Sankey horse, of course, and I really don't know too much about this horse. Let's see what he does. Here he goes. He's got him spurred out good. He's starting good, a little shifty in the front end. Steven's beating him well. Horse is moving on a little bit now there, but still pretty good. Steven rode real well. He was ahead of him there, beating him to the ground. Looked pretty good there. On the replay here, you'll see that Steven's getting jerked off. He's rigging a little bit there, kind of beating his body up a little bit, but he rode real well. We'll see what kind of score the judges will give him here. Well, he's got an 83, the same as Kaycee, so I think them two scores are going to win. They'll win the same amount of money, and pretty good here in Spanish Fork.
So Tilden ends up being our winner at 85, tied with Seth Hardwick. They both won about $4,500. Kaycee Coletti came in with 84 at $2,300. Brian Bain was 84 at $2,300. Then Kaycee, Will Lowe, and Steve Peebles all tied at 83. You know, one of the important things here in the rodeo business is that you place all the time. Like Louis said, you don't have to win first. You probably didn't win first every time, even though you did most of the time. But as long as you're placed and you can stay out on the road, and that money adds up for championship standings and a berth at the NFR, and that's what all the contestants are after.
It really does. Consistency's the key. I mean, you got to win first at some of them big rodeos to win a world championship, but consistency's the key, and just to be steady and get them checks everywhere you go.
It was a great event, our first event. Let's go to our next one.